Hello friends, welcome again. It's Michael Tobechuku here with another coding tutorial. Today's project promises to be fun and interesting as we code along. Today, we'll be creating a language translator app using MIT App Inventor. It's a simple, fun, and interesting app which I'm sure you'll enjoy. But before we dive into the project proper, I'd like you to do something for me very quickly. Hit the subscribe button if you are yet to. Quickly like this video and share with your friends. Have you done that? Good, now let's dive into the project proper. First, I will show you the finished work after I created it, how it works. Then we'll dive into designing and coding our application.
This is how the language translator app works. So you come here where it says enter text to translate below, and I'm going to type beautiful day it is today, right? Then I'll click on select language, and I'll select the language I want, say Spanish, and you observe that the text of the button changes towards Spanish. If I click Italian, it changes to Italian. That way, I know the language I have selected, okay? If I change it to French, it also changes to French. So let's go back to Spanish. Then I'll just click on translate. Now it will do two things. One, it will show the text translated into Spanish in this box below where it says translated text. And it will also read it out loud. So let's see how that works. So see, that's simply how the application works. So let's get started.
Okay, so I haven't seen the finished project. Let's get building. So right here in your App Inventor home, you click New Project, and then you title your project to call it Translator App. So take note that in your app name, to separate two words, you do not use space, else you have an error. You see, project names cannot contain spaces, okay? So you can use underscore or you can use camel case. I'm going to stick with underscore, then click OK. Then it's going to load the app builder. All right, so let's do a quick tour of this app builder interface. So from right here at the top, you see the name of your application. And then here on the left, you see user interface. So user here, under your user interface is where you have all the components. If you scroll down as well, you see other sections such as layout, media, drawing and animation, maps, and all of that. So this is where the elements and the components of your application are stored. So this is where everything is. So everything that you need to build your application is here, from the user interface to layout to media to charts and all of that. So right here in the center is your screen, right? So this looks like your phone. So this is where the building of the application is going to occur. So this is where we put our elements together and build our application. And right here you see the different views of your device that we can have, okay? So if I try iOS 13, I have a slightly different mobile device, but I'm going to stick with Android 5. All right, then on the right side, the far right here, okay, there are two things on the right here that we need to take note of. Here is where all the elements I add to my application, I'll see a list of them right here. As we go on, you'll understand better. On the far right here, I have what? Appearance. So this is where the properties of the element I am currently working on would be. We'll be using this side of the screen a lot, this side of the app builder a lot. Now when we're done designing our application, then you switch to blocks for the coding, right? This is where our coding blocks will be, but for now we're still in the designer view. All right, let's get building. Now if you recall what the finished work looks like, which is this, you can see that we have text, then we have another line of text, then we have a box, then we have a button which is interactive, then another interactive button, and we have another box. So this final box is where the text that has been translated from English to another language would show right here. All right, without further ado, let's get building. The first thing we'll add is this blue box right here. Then all the elements will be inside it. Okay, now that will be under user interface, right? But before we get to user interface, we go to layout and drag vertical arrangement, right? So you can see vertical arrangement has been added to our application. Then right under screen 1 here, you can see vertical arrangement. Now let's make this vertical alignment look exactly how we want. So I'll come under the appearance, which are the properties. Then I'll say few parents. Few parents will make the height take up the entire height. Then width, same thing, will take up the entire width. Then I can change the background color. Come to background color, it says default. I change it to any color I want. Okay, you can play around with the different colors that you want, but I'm going to stick with this. Alright, so inside it will now have all the other elements of the page. So I'm going to close layout and go back to user interface. Then I drag label. Label allows you to be able to do what? Include text. Okay. Then I need another label. Alright. But let's begin to design from here. Now the first label says what? Language translator. So click on label 1. Then come under the appearance here. Scroll down a bit, you see text. So erase what you have there, and I'm going to change it to language translator, and you hit enter. Once you do that, the text changes. Now the second one, also under text, you say enter text to translate here with a colon in front. So you see that. Now I'm going to make both of them be aligned to the center of the page. So I'm going to scroll down to text alignment and say align center, also align center, but I want them to be directly in the center of the page. So how do I do that? Click on vertical arrangement, then you come here to align horizontal and you choose align center. All right, I'm going to make this text bigger because it's looking quite small. So click on language translator, then you come to where you have font size, and I can make it 17, or I can even make it bigger if I want. I'm going to stick with 20. And I can also change the font. Under font typeface, I can choose sans serif. Ensure you click OK so it can take effect. Or I can choose serif, click OK, and you see that. So I'm done with that. Now let's go to this second line of text. I'm also going to make it bigger, but not as big as the first one. I'm also going to make it bold. So I'll click on font bold. There you go. If I wish, I can change the font, then click OK. Alright, so that's that for that. Now let's move on to the box that is right under this text, which is where the user is expected to type the English text. Okay, so for that we need a text box. So scroll down, still under user interface, then I drag text box. So I can increase the size of my text box. So where I have height, I click on height and maybe make it 250 pixels. Okay, that's too much, right? I want to make it 35 pixels. All right, that's ideal. Then for width, I'm going to make it 250 pixels. Let's see. That looks quite okay, right? Yes. So I can also change the alignment to the center if I want. Then okay, so with that, I think I'm good to go with the box. If you want, you can increase the height to accommodate more text. Maybe you can make it 40 pixels. Alright, for me, I think this is cool. If you want to increase the width, you can come to the width and add more values to this. So let's add the next thing, which is the translate button. But before that, of course, we have the select language. Now the select language is what we call a list picker, because it allows us to pick a list of things. Then the next one, of course, is the translate button. Okay, so for the list picker, so come here, you have to change the name of this. So click on rename. So let's design our list picker button. So I'm going to change the background color to blue. So I'll click save, and of course scroll down. I can change the color of the text to white. Good. Then I can change the shape of the button, right, from default to rounded, to have curved edges. Then of course I can make it bigger. So go to height, I can make it 40 pixels. Then the width, I can also expand it to 250 pixels. So that way it matches with this box. Okay, it's looking nice. I can change the font size. I can increase it to 17. Are they coming here? I can change the font size to any number I want. I can make it 16. I think 16 looks okay. All right, with that, I think I'm cool with the button. But of course, we have to change this text that says text for list speaker 1. So scroll down a little. So you see where you have text. So instead of text, I'll change it to select language. All right, select language. Right, perfect. That way, I have a perfect looking button which allows us to select language. Now, don't forget, this is a list speaker. Well, this is just a button that responds. So let's now design this one. So I'll start with the background color. I'm going to choose a yellow one, a yellow background with, if I scroll down, black text. Yes. All right. So I'm also going to change the shape to be a rounded one. Then, of course, the height 40 pixels. Then the width, I'm going to use 250 pixels. Oh, there you are. Then, of course, I can increase it to maybe 16. That looks nice. Then I can change the font type too if I want. I can change the font type of any of them. And I'm going to make it bold. All right. Then, of course, now let's change the text to what? Translate. Come to where you have text here. So let's change it. I'm going to call it what? Translate. All right. All right, good. So of course you can increase, can decrease the size as you wish. All right, that looks okay for me. All right, so with that, we've come to the end of designing our application interface. But one thing you must do, I've done it for some of them here. So I need you to change the name of this element. Okay, what do I mean? If you look at this language translator, yours will be label 1. Then for this, yours will be label 2. So you click on it and click translate, and you can change the name, right? Then you click on this, click on rename, and you can change the name. So I'm going to do the same now for this list speaker. So instead of list speaker, I'm going to call it what? Select language. All right, good. That way, when we start coding, it'll be easy for you to identify. Okay, then the same thing too with this translate. Click rename and change it to what? Translate button. And so with that, we've been able to create the visible parts of our work, of our application. We've been able to make it look really nice. But there's one thing that we haven't added. Can you remind me what it is? Yes, the label where the text here would appear down here. Okay, for that we need a label. So come here, drag and drop the label. This is where the text to translate will be shown. Okay, now I'm going to make it look like an actual box so that you know there's something that's supposed to show this. I'm going to choose white. All right, so of course I can increase the height of it to 40 pixels. All right, then the width as well to 250 so that it matches with the others. Now you can see the text is aligned to the left. You can leave it that way or you can centralize it. So if I want to centralize it, ensure that it is selected. Then you click text alignment. You scroll down, text alignment, you choose center. You see that? Of course, you can make it bold if you want. You can change the font even further if you want. Let's change the name of this label so we know it's translated text. Let's make it this way, translated text. So that way you know that is where the translated text shows. Now that is all for the visible elements of our application. But this application needs 2 other components to be able to work. Now those components will not appear on the page, but they'll be working in the background to make our application to function. So the first one is the translator component. What does it do? Simply what the name says. It translates from one language to another. Then we also need a component called text to speech, which takes our text and reads it out loud. Okay, that's simply what it does. Now as you can see, if I scroll down on my app, those 2 components, although they show here on this list, translator, text to speech, they do not pop up or show anywhere on the page. So scroll down, you see what? Non-visible components, and you see your translator and your text to speech. So both of them are non-visible components. With that, we're done with our interface of the application. Now let's get coding. So you click on blocks and you swipe over to the coding interface. So the first thing we'll do is to set what we call a global variable. So a variable is simply a store of value. So this variable is going to set the default language of our application, right? So I can call this variable anything. Come here to where you have name, erase what you have there, and I'll call it app language. That's the name I want to call my variable. Okay, you can call it anything you want, but just take note that its function is to serve as the default language of our application. So let's set the global default language. Come here to text, pull an empty string and drop it here. Then you set it to English. So the code for English is ENN. So that will set the default language of our application. Now the next thing is to control what happens when we click on the select language button. Okay, don't forget that select language button is actually a list speaker which allows us to be able to select which language we want. You can have as many languages as you want, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to just choose 3 languages. Of course, you can extend it beyond that. So scroll down under where you have the blocks here. So I will see what select language. I'll click on that. Then with that, I will see different options of what I can choose. So you see the first one here says when select language dot after cookie do what? So what does that mean? It means what should happen, what action should be performed, what action should be taken when you pick or when you select the select language button, when you pick any of the options, right? What should happen? So I'm going to drop this here and then we'll go back to designer and do something. So click on this select language button here and you scroll down. You see here you have elements from string. Now what does that mean? Say for example, I want to have a list of 10 things. I'll put all those 10 things right here in this box. Okay, so what are the things I want to have here? I want to have languages which are number one, French, comma, let's do Spanish instead of Italian. Spanish, then German in capital D. Now ensure that each language is separated by a comma. So the comma indicates that one option has ended and another one begins. So for example, if I want to add more, I could say comma Italian or comma Portuguese, right? I can have as many languages as I want. Comma, I could say maybe Mandarin or Chinese, and so on and so forth. But like I said, I'm going to stick with 3 languages. Good. So do not forget to add this. Ensure you click on select language, and of course it is selected here. And you come under the appearance where you have the properties, and you come to elements from string, then add the option separated by a comma. Okay. Then go back to blocks now. So when language after clicking, what should happen? Then we need an if statement for each of the 3 languages. So if I have 10 languages, I need of course 10 if statements. Okay. So I'll click on control, then drag if, then and drop it. So the next lines of code you want to write will be, if the selected language is French, then you should set the language to French. If the selected language is Spanish, then change the language to Spanish. If the selected language is German, change the language to German. That's the simple logic right here. So I'll go to math and I need equals to, and I'll drop it here. And I'll come back to select language and you scroll down. Then you drag select language.background or anyone. And you click this and change it to selection. You look for selection on the list. Then drop it right here. Then here will now indicate the language you want. So come to text, then drag the empty string and drop it right here. Then type French. Now take note that the way you have typed the language here with capital letter F, R-E-N-C-H is exactly what you have here in the elements from strings under design. Okay, ensure it is spelled the exact same way. So to avoid errors, you can just highlight this, copy, come back to blocks and paste, and do the same for as many languages as you want. Okay, so you say if, don't forget to drag this equals to. You can get the equals to either from logic or from math. Both of them do exactly the same thing. All right, so if select language.selection equals to French, then what should happen? Come back to your variables, then we say set, drag this and drop it here. Then we say select what? We created a variable called app language, right? Good. So we now say set global app language to what? Can you tell me? Of course, French. Instead of having to type all over again, I'm just going to duplicate this and drop it here. Change it to the application shortcode, which is FR. So FR in small letters represent French, okay? FR represents French. But there's another thing we want to do for our application, okay? If you remember when I showed you the finished project, which you can flip back to watch, when you click on this button here and you select a language, you no longer see select language. You now see the language you have picked. So select language, scroll down, and you pick anyone, okay? Like I said earlier, then you, instead of this, you now change it to text. Drag and drop it under the text. So now say, if select language.selection equals to French, set the app global language to FR, which is French. Then you now set select language.text, that is the text of it, to what? To French. Good. So with that, the French part of our application is done. So the same thing for all the other applications. I'm going to duplicate, drop it here. Take note of where I'm dropping it. Inside the when select language after clicking, but right after this one. So all I have to do right now is just to change for all the other languages. So I'm here, I'm copying Spanish, and I'm putting Spanish here. Now the short code for Spanish is ES, okay, not SP, okay, take note of that. Then of course this I'll change it to what? Spanish. Boom, I'm done with Spanish as well. So I'll duplicate again. Same thing for German. I'll come here, copy German, paste German. German is DE. Take note of that. Short code is DE, and I change this to German. All right. With that, I'm done with the 3 languages that I want to do. So you can create, of course, for as many languages as you want. With this, what would happen is when you click on the select language button, the list speaker, it changes the text to the language you have selected, and then it changes the application's language to that particular language. but it doesn't translate it yet. Of course, we only coded for the select language button. Okay, now it's time for us to code the translate button. Now let's code the translate button, which is this, right? Click on it. Then you see when translate button does click, what should happen? So drag it. So when we click on that translate button, what do we want it to do? Scroll down and then you see translator. So the first thing you want it to do, you want it to call the translator. To call the translator means to do what? To involve the translator in the function it wants to perform. So when we click on that button, it should do what? Call the translator one, which of course is this. In this call translator, you can see two empty spaces here. So the first one says language to translate to, is requesting the language. And the second one says text to translate. So what language will it translate to? Go back to your variables. Then we say get. We'll drop that here and click on this. So what is it going to do? Please take note. Language to translate to. If you see here, the global app language changes 3 times because I have 3 languages. It changes depending on the language you have selected. So what the button will keep doing, what the translator will keep doing, is to keep checking what language has been selected. That's why we say get global app language. Okay. Next one here says the text to translate. To enter text, we drag that and drop it. Instead of background color, we say what? Text. So what will happen is it will go to this box, get whatever text is there, and show us the translation right there. Now with this, it has translated the language or the text or whatever you type into the language you have selected, but then you can't see it anywhere or you can't hear it. Now let's fix that. You go to the translator and you see it says when translator 1 got translation rather, you drop it here. Then what should happen, right? Then here we come to translator 1, then we drag when translator 1 got translation. Then we go back to here, we get translated text, which represents what? This box right here. Don't forget that represents this box. This is where we want the translated text to show. So we say translated text, where is that? There you go. So we want to set the text here, drag this and drop it here. We want to set the translated text to what? To the translation. So we say get translation. This is where I got the get translation from. Once you hover on this, you have 2 options, but we don't want to set, we want to get. You drag that out and put it here. I don't need the second one, I'm going to translate. Then of course, we also want it to say it out loud. So I'll click on text to speech, then drag this, call text to speech, drop it here. Then what do we want? I also want it to get the translation. With this, our app is ready and good to go. So you can test this out and see how it works. To install the application on your mobile device, click on build, then click Android APK. Now, once you have this QR code on your screen, you can use the QR code scanner on your mobile device to download and install it and see how it works. Okay? If you have any questions, you can ask me in the comments and I'll be sure to respond to your questions. That will be all for today. Bye.